If you're looking for a podcast that packs in sound property advice, as well as offering you an insight into making the world of property effective and ultimately work for you, you're in the right place. Hosted by Arsh the original property rebel. He's written an Amazon bestseller, created the Property Investor app, the UK's first, and is an experienced property mentor. More importantly, he talks the talk and walks the walk.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of The Property Rebel with your host Arsh. And today we're going to be covering the all-important topic of what should I do? Should I be buying now? Should I be sitting on my hands? Should I be waiting? Should I be making offers? So lots of things that we're going to be covering. I want to say a quick thank you and a quick hello to all the new listeners, all new subscribers. Fantastic feedback that we're getting on the podcast. And if you haven't already done so, please leave me a review on the App Store or wherever you're listening to this, because it helps us get up the ranks a little bit. So that's a bit of a plug. So let's get straight into it. So as I record this, we're in a bit of a difficult situation. Are we in lockdown? Are we out of lockdown? What's Boris saying? Is he saying that we can come out? Can we not come out? Well, technically speaking, he says that all estate agents and letting agents can operate and we need to start moving. So we've been doing lettings for a few weeks now, and we've been doing some sales through the Property Investor app, and it's going really well. Yeah, and to be fair, if I was going to speak truthfully, we haven't really noticed a difference between coming out of lockdown and prior to COVID. So we've hit the ground running, shall we say. As I said, this is always a one take, so there are no edits. Lots of people come to me and said, well, Arsh, what shall I do? Should I now go out and start buying? Should I consider buying? Should I start putting offers in? I've got some cash in the bank. Is now the right time to buy? And we're going to address all these questions in this podcast. There's a couple of things to consider. Now, if you are considering buying, the first thing that I would say is that monitor the market. You're going to appreciate that we've only, technically speaking, come out of lockdown. And I say technically speaking, because in theory we're not fully out of lockdown, that prices haven't shown their true value yet. And the reason why I say that is because prices have dropped. Yes, they have dropped, and there's been lots of evidence to confirm that. Some indicators are saying that they've dropped by about £4,000 month on month throughout lockdown. Some are saying that it's dropped up to almost like 2%. But however, a lot of the indicators are saying that we're going to drop up to 20 and possibly even 30%. Now, if we compare this back to 2007, 2008 and the market crashing there, yes, we did see significant drops, and they're saying that this pandemic is going to be worse than that. So do we sit on our hands and we wait, knowing that we've only dropped significantly? We've only dropped a small amount in comparison to what could be quite a catastrophic drop and a reduction in price. So I would sit and watch the market. So if you've got a specific property in mind, keep watching it, keep tracking it. And the way that you do this straight away is if it's on, let's say it's on Rightmove, just put an alert. Put an alert on so that you're looking for a 3-bed semi-detached in an area, and it will send you an email alert. So every time there's a price drop or if it's been reduced, it will email you. So that's a good indicator. So if it was on for £100,000 last week, over the next month, potentially that may drop to 95. And then the month after, it may start to drop slightly further and further. And this will give you a good indication what's going on in the market. Now, I get lots of alerts from lots of different cities, towns, different types, because I'm always looking for property deals. So I've got my hotspots ready. I've set up my alerts and I'm watching the prices drop. Every day, I get approximately 30, maybe 40 emails. Now, that seems a lot, but when you're seeing of what's happening in the market, the emails aren't saying new instruction, it's saying price reduced, price reduced, price reduced. Okay, and also you can also see on places like Zoopla that it actually gives you an indicator of how much the price was reduced from the point that it was originally listed to the point of where it is now, and it'll tell you that it's dropped by 4%. It's also got indicators as to if it was listed at 100,000, let's say January 2020, right down to where we are now in June 2020, it would have said that started off at 100,000, it's now at 89,000, and it'll tell you the percentages that it's dropped, and that's a really good indicator. The next thing that I would suggest that you consider is not only watching the property market, but also watching what the mortgage lenders are doing. Now, if you have a look at what they've done so far, instantly when we went into lockdown, and as soon as we came out of lockdown, the first thing that they did they pulled a lot of their products out of the market. And the reason they did that is because they're still not confident knowing what's going to happen in the marketplace. So they said, well, hang on, we're not lending on property knowing that potentially in a couple of months later, we could be pretty much 100% geared on that property as a result of a reduction in the price. So lots of lenders pull their mortgage products out of the market. So it may be a good indicator for you to watch when the lenders are coming back into the market. And once people like Shawbrook, Aldermore, you've got the Lloyds, you've got the HBOS, and also you've got some of the bridging companies. So just some of the bridging companies, they start to take a very cautious approach. They've said previously we were lending up to 80% loan to value. Now they've dropped to as much, or should I say as little as 50 to 60%. These are all telltale signs that they don't even know what's happening in the marketplace. So these are all things that you can be watching. Speak to your mortgage brokers. If you're in direct contact with lenders like Shawbrook, etc., and Aldermore, and you can go direct to them, by the way, it might be worth touching base with them. Say, guys, okay, I'm looking at, let's say, a HMO. What would you lend on it? If they say, well, we're lending 60%, they're still not certain about it. If they start coming back and say, well, yeah, we're back up at normal levels at 75%, no problem, that may be a good indicator to say that they've had some news to say that at 75%, they're quite safe. And just bearing in mind that they said 75%, and bear in mind that the purchaser has to put in the 25%, they're quite certain that 75%, they're quite safe at that level. Now, if you're already buying, and I'll say this, if you've already got an offer that you've agreed on a property, and this could have been prior to lockdown or even just as we've come out of lockdown, this is now a really good time for you. The reason being, I will say that you've got nothing to lose by asking the question. And the question is, I was buying the property at £100,000 prior to lockdown or a couple of weeks ago. I believe the market's starting to drop. Therefore, I'd like to reduce or reconsider my offer. And your offer can then be perhaps a 10, 15, or even 20% reduction. Now, you've got to go into this with two trains of thought. First train of thought is that best case scenario, they're going to say, yeah, okay, let's renegotiate. And you're going to get the property at even cheaper than what you originally wanted it for. You thought it was working well on the figures before at the full asking price. Now you've got a reduction, which makes it even better, which means that the cash flow is going to be better because the loan amount's going to be slower, which means that the mortgage payments are going to be lower. If they say yes, great. Worst case scenario, if they come back and say, sorry, no, the price is the price, you either buy it or you don't. You've then got to sit down and reconsider. Do I want to buy this property? Am I going to think that the property is going to reduce in price over a period of time? Is it still a good opportunity for me? And you might determine and say yes or no. If it's yes, then move forward and start progressing the sale. If it's no, you can just pull out. Now, the one thing that I will, you can pull out and start looking for other opportunities. The one thing that I will say is that if you are thinking about pulling out, before you do so, have a look at the lending that you've got on the table. And I say this very carefully. By the way, this is not financial advice. This is just my personal opinion. If you are looking to pull out, have a look at what lending you got on the table. And the reason why I say this is because let's just imagine that you're buying a property, and again, keep numbers simple, £100,000. And Shawbrook have offered to, again, there are other lenders out there. Shawbrook have offered to lend you 75% of the purchase price. Now, if you pull out, what's the chances that if you find another property deal that Shawbrook is still going to lend you up to 75%? Now, if you've only got a 25% deposit, that means that you're restricted at any properties within that budget. However, if you pull out and then Shawbrook says, sorry guys, okay, no, we pulled that product. You had that because we honoured that because that was what was agreed either prior to COVID or at the point of applying, but that product's no longer available. Now, if you pull out, that may now mean that you can't buy another property because all the other products at circa 60 to 70%, which means that you may not have enough funds to fund the next purchase. So then you have a look at, okay, shall I carry on with this one? On the basis that, yes, I'm investing not for the first 6 months where we're going to see some fluctuations or even the first 2 years. I'm investing for the next 10, 15 or even 20 years. Most mortgage terms are circa 20 to 25 years and even beyond that, 30 to 35 years, depending on your age and your circumstances. So you've got to think about it. So over the next 20 years, are we going to see any more fluctuations in the market? And the answer is absolutely. Think about it. 2007, 2008, that was only 12, 13 years ago. So between now and the end of your mortgage term, are you going to see any more? Absolutely you are. So in that respect, do you take a viewpoint that I'll buy it knowing that at some point the price is going to come down, but then we're going to recover and then we're going to go back into a peak again, then we're going to come back down into a trough? But along the way, as long as we're making cash flow, the product is sustainable and the property is sustainable, i.e. it's generating cash flow all the time, that's how I'm going to view it. Now, that's my personal view. I don't really care what's going on in the marketplace. And I say that broadly. The reason why I say that broadly is because I actually put all my mortgages on capital repayment. So regardless what's happening in the property prices, my debt level is always reducing month by month. So that's a strategy that you could employ. And regardless what happens in the market, I'm always in equity. And I've set all my debt level to a certain date so that I become debt free. So that's something that you could look at. Because if you think that in actual fact, no, I'm going to pull away. Now, if you then go to buy another property and then you can't get funding for it, you're going to then start to think, you're going to be kicking yourself thinking, why didn't I buy that property whilst I had the opportunity? The property price may have dropped by 10%, and let's just say on 100,000, that's 10,000. But if you look at what that property could have generated you in cash flow, would it have been more than the 10,000? And if you're buying something which we're going to convert into a HMO that is going to produce, let's say, approximately £1,000 a month, over 2 years, that would have made you 24,000 anyway. So you've got to think about this logically. You've got to think about this not with your emotion. You've got to remove your emotion, because emotion will say, well, hang on, I don't want to buy something that's going to be depreciating over the next year. You've got to be thinking about this with the spreadsheet, with your logical thinking. Say, well, yes, I appreciate it's going to drop because that's the nature of the market that we're in right now, but over the next 20 years, how do I see this product performing? How do I see this property performing? And this is where you've got to be looking at, and this is where you've got to get your mindset into. Now, so I'm hoping that if you're already buying, that's things to take into consideration. What lending have you got in place at the moment? If you pull away, are you going to still be able to get that lending? If not, still carry on buying it. Also, it's still also worth asking the question, can I get reduction in price? Yes or no? Worst case scenario, they can say no, and you then decide, am I going to carry on or not? If they say yes, you're in a win-win situation. Now, if you're thinking about buying, there's nothing stopping you from making offers. So if you've seen the property on the market for £100,000, there's nothing stopping you going in and say, guys, I tell you what, my offer today is 80 grand. Now, agents will be receptive to working with you because they know that there's the lack of buyers out there. Lack of buyers because there's low confidence in the market. More importantly, lots of home owners are struggling to get mortgages. Why are they struggling to get mortgages? Because they've been furloughed, which means that they've had to take a reduction in their pay, which means that they will restrict the amount of lenders or the amount that they can borrow. I'm hoping that that kind of makes sense. So if you're thinking about buying, now is the perfect time to make offers. And if you do get an offer accepted, there will be lenders out there. And also, just so that I'll be 100% certain on this, lending will be available for the right deal. And whether that be lending via, lenders such as Shawbrook and Aldermore and the main markets, or it could be private funding such as JV Finance. There'll be lots of JV funding out there available. So don't let it put you off. If you're thinking about it, now could be the time to strike a bargain or buy a bargain. Finally, if you're a cash buyer, you're in a win-win situation. I'd say be aggressive as you like. Be aggressive as you like because you've got nothing to lose. You've got the power. You're the one that's in charge right now. I'm going to a property. Yes, okay, if it's worth 100,000, I'm offering you 70 grand. I'm offering you 70 grand based on the fact that I've taken into consideration that there's going to be a fluctuation. I'm probably not going to see any return out of that for the first couple of years. Chances are that I may struggle to refinance within a certain period because there are lack of lenders out there. And you put all this as a case towards the seller and also whoever the estate agent is, because if you can show proof of funds that you've got the money in the bank and you're in a position to move quickly. Let's face it, agents now are worried about their commission levels. They're worried about the amount of sales that everyone can accept an offer, but it's about the one that completes the deal, the one that gets through to exchange and moves forward. So if you've got cash, be aggressive. There's lots of opportunities out there. There'll be lots of residential opportunities. There'll be hell of a lot of commercial opportunities out there. So you've now got to consider, Is this the right time for you? Remember, remove the emotion. This is very much a spreadsheet exercise. If a property comes your way and you like it and it works financially, remember, remove the short-term thinking away from your mindset and say, guys, okay, I'm looking at this for 20 to 25 years. It's not like you're buying a coat and I'm going to buy it today, but at Christmas time it's going to go down in the sale. Remember, that's not really what we're looking at. We're looking at something that's got a product timeline of circa 15, 20 or 25 years, because that's the leverage or the loan term that you're taking out. So I hope that's been of great value to you. Hopefully it's got you to start thinking a little bit differently about what you're going to be doing and how you're going to be approaching stuff. As always, if you'd like to follow me, please feel free to follow me on social media. You can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter and Instagram. I've also got quite an active YouTube channel where we release videos, and again, another free education for you, different videos to what you hear on the podcast. You can find me on YouTube by searching Arsh. Finally, have you downloaded the Property Investor app? The reason why I say that is an app that I developed just over a year ago, and it's the UK's first property investment marketplace for property investment deals. So if you're looking for below market value deals, you're looking for rent to rent deals, lease option deals, commercial deals, and all kinds of property investment deals that all property investors love, the Property Investor app is the place to be. You can go to www.propertyinvestorapp.co.uk, or alternatively, you can go to the App Store. So if you've got a mobile phone or a smartphone, go to your App Store, iOS or Android, and go and type in Property Investor. And it really is as simple as that. It takes 2 minutes to register, and you'll see approximately 200 opportunities right in the palm of your hand. On that note, guys, I wish you all the very best at success, and I wish you all to keep safe, and I will speak to you all very soon. Bye-bye.
The large majority of people make a positive change if they take immediate action. So act now. Download the Property Investor app and join Arsh on his social media channels to excel your property journey.